A short passage, and I'm talking anything under 48 hours, you can really call that sleep deprivation because you're not going long enough to be tired enough to sleep well. So we have just had a very, very nice sleep, having had a 25-hour passage without any sleep, and we've woken up to a very rainy Falmouth, and actually it's now blowing a gale. So the little window of opportunity that we took to get across the Bristol Channel has worked in our favour, because now we have southwesterly blowing for the next 10 days, I think, so we moved at the right time, and it is wonderful to be in the lovely town of Falmouth. Welcome back to Adventure Now in Cornwall. Getting around the corner from Wales was a real milestone for us, having waited for a weather window for 3 weeks. The weather window we took tested us just a little, as the Bristol Channel usually does, but here we are, sheltering from another gale blowing through. At this time of the year, they are coming thick and fast, but we don't mind this one blowing through when we've got the lovely town to explore, knowing that Altor is safely anchored in flat water, sheltered by the lovely buildings of this historic maritime town. Well, we eked out the best of the day today. Not quite prepared for it to get dark yet. I think I'm still operating on British summertime, but we'll get used to it. And the long nights at sea. We've had one of those already.
And what a bonus to have pasties.
Pasties, yes. We had pasties today. Traditional Cornish pasties. The channel is narrow with rocks on both sides. It's tricky to navigate this great divide. Remember, you're unique, just like everyone else. So let's celebrate all and start with ourselves. Love is the cure. You can grow it at home. We're better together than we can be alone. This life is not all adventure and exploration. Sometimes you have to catch up with those menial tasks, and we had 3 weeks worth of washing to do. Fortunately, for a modest charge, you can anchor in this lovely sheltered place and have access to the facilities. So we were able to enjoy the town, pasties, and return to Altor with clean clothes. We were now looking forward to a long sleep and a lay-in, but the lay-in wasn't to be. 6:30 in the morning, and we had a bit of a rude awakening. Suddenly we heard voices saying, "Is anyone aboard?" So I worried that we were dragging anchor or something, and it was the harbour master saying there's a big ship coming in and he needs to clear the anchorage out. So it's a bit of a rude awakening, but well, we'd rather move than get bumped by a big ship, so it's wake up fast, anchor up and move. Here we go. She's not a big ship, but that is pretty much where we were anchored, so I'm glad we moved. You can hear the propellers of ships rotating when you're laying in bed down near the waterline, so it would have been quite scary to hear that up close and see it right outside, so I'm pleased that they asked us to move. The harbour staff are not in the business of waking you up at an ungodly hour. They told us that they came to the boat during the day to warn us of the ship coming in, but we weren't there, so the early awakening is what we got. Next, it was time to visit the Maritime Museum just around the corner. Inside, there is an astonishing display of boats, old and new, and also the smallest boat ever to cross the Atlantic. A bit like setting to sea in a sieve as far as I'm concerned, but fair play to him, he loved it so much that he's never got out. You can even see mock-ups of Lord Nelson's ships and perhaps the most important maritime artefact in existence. I can't help but think that that is what I hooked in Norway, and it's the one that got away. Never forget, the biggest fish are always those caught by the tail.
There you go. We have to go back.
There are examples of exotic animals imported from faraway places and evidence of early genetic modification experiments. You can make your own mind up whether you think they've gone well or badly. And finally, there is a very grisly display showing the pubic lice that the ancient mariners had to deal with, in fact wrestle with, every time they had to answer the call of nature. They were tough times. Reminds me, you must send a birthday card to your ex-boyfriend. Now this is a room with a view. After a great few days enjoying Falmouth, things aboard Altor were about to change. It's not a normal day on Altor of Down today. We are losing a crew member.
Not losing. I'm just temporarily going to Poland for some dental work. I'm not very comfortable with going to a dentist, so I want to go to my trusted dentist that I've been going to for the last 20 years, and I hope to get the issue sorted.
Well, I think you've been a trooper, because this has been plaguing you for the last month or so as we've been sailing down, and we got to Falmouth and just decided that enough was enough. Asha has got to fly home and get your gnashers sorted out. So we will soon be waving you off the ship, and Altor and I will miss you a huge amount, but we will see you in Burnham-on-Crouch.
I miss you too.
Don't you threaten her.
Blue dew, blue moon,
Thank you.
kind of mysterious, shaded with someone I'm not really into.
Take care, Ashy.
Do you need a fix?
See you soon.
Talking bullshit.
Good morning. Wednesday the 9th of November, just after first light, 6:45 in the morning, and I'm preparing to set to sea. Going east, destination is the Solent, but it's porridge and coffee first. I've got myself dressed in all my woolen underwear, so I should be keeping toasty. Ash has been in Poland for a couple of days now. She got there safely after flying over to Dublin from Newquay and then to Poland. And she's getting her teeth sorted out, which is good news, and I'm now getting ready for my first single-handed sail in 3 years. Here we go. Beautiful morning in Falmouth. Sunrise one way and moon the other. We're up and we're off. There's a little cool nip in the air today. First time I've felt it being wintry. Maybe we should be heading south, not east. Cheers, David. Good to meet you. Nice guy from Canada.
Not blue.
Plymouth is now 7 miles behind us. The sun is beautiful. It's a little bit rolly, but we've got 14 to 16 knots apparent, so we're up to around 20-22 true wind speed. There's my little window on the world south. I'm sure there are many beauties down there, but Asha and I are a little bit fixated with the north. Always very welcome. It's amazing how I've so quickly gone back into the ways of a single-handed sailor. There are some obvious differences, the main one being that you don't have anyone to talk to, but I do have the camera. But the other thing is that I tend to give myself targets. You know, you want the time to pass quickly, although you're enjoying it moment by moment. But I've been hungry for a couple of hours, and that is probably due to boredom, and as I've said before, being bored means the passage is going well. But I couldn't eat lunch at 11, so I'm stringing it out until I'm due south of Eddystone Lighthouse, which should be, I would say, within half an hour. And then I'll reward myself with some lunch. I have to say that after our challenging sail around the corner, this lovely cruise along the south coast with good speed was most welcome. And after a beautiful day, the sun was soon setting behind us. We've got the lighthouse of Starts Point flashing away behind us. My original plan was to go into Brixham. I was hoping to catch up with my cousin Liz and my uncle Rob. But unfortunately, because of our delay in Wales, waiting 3 weeks for weather to come down, we're now a bit too late in the season, so unfortunately I'm having to take this westerly and sail right by. But it's been a real treat today watching the sunrise. It shone all day and then I've just watched it set behind us. Absolutely beautiful. And now we've got some good speed with the tide, up to 9 knots surfing. It's lovely, just getting ready for the night shift. 2 o'clock in the morning, wind is 22 to 25 knots, pretty consistent. Sea state has flattened off quite nicely. We're against the tide now, so progress is a bit slow. We're doing between 3 and 5 knots really. But in a couple of hours time the tide turns again, and I think we're going to go around the south side of the Isle of Wight. I spent the night tucked up in a sleeping bag enjoying 20-minute cat naps. And soon daylight appeared. Nice speed, which is really, really good, and I have decided to push on to Eastbourne. The wind is going to go a little bit more southerly, so I'm heading offshore again so I can bear away when that comes. The weather is just too good of an opportunity to miss. I think we may as well carry on. Still a bit of a rolly ship. The tide has turned, so it's wind over tide now. We've got 30 knots blowing. It's reasonably comfortable. The only thing that's not comfy is my bum, because I've pretty much been in the same position for 30 hours, but there's not really too much you can do when you're just keeping watch on your own. Oh, that's a ship proximity alarm on the AIS. About 20 miles to go. The breeze stiffened and went a little more southerly as per the forecast, but we continued on our way, enjoying the sail. The preference is always to approach a harbour in daylight, but this isn't always possible, so tonight I would be entering Sovereign Harbour at Eastbourne under the cover of darkness. It's never easy to spot the buoys with the clutter of the lights on shore, so I was very relieved to be in. Rolled our way through the pier walls and now we're safely in the lock. What a relief. I feel whiskey coming. Large. It's been a while since I've been single-handed sailing, and I got used to it again pretty quickly, but without a doubt the toughest part of it was coming in the dark, not having Asha there to help me spot the buoys. She's very good at spotting the buoys. But we're in after a 220 mile passage from Falmouth, and this is going to taste sweet. Cheers. Ah. Once you're east of the Solents, there aren't many ports along here that are suitable for Altor. So after the trip from Falmouth, it was lovely to come around Beachy Head and head in here. The entrance is straightforward enough by day. There are some rocks, but they're just outside of the channel. But the tough thing is picking out the navigation marks against the backdrop of all the lights of Eastbourne. And it made for a pretty nervous, rolly time coming in here. But once you're through the big walls, it immediately goes calm, and then you go into the lock and into the total calmness of the inner harbour. It's a great place to relax for a few days and get ready to push Altor's nose further east. After a relaxing few days and catching up with a good friend of mine called Justin and his wife Tracy, it was time once again to head off. When you haven't got a job, you don't often have to get up at the crack of a seagull's fart. And I haven't even heard a seagull fart yet. It is early. It's dark, there's no light on the horizon yet, but we're getting the boat ready to lock out and make our way further east and around the corner to Ramsgate and perhaps further. The friendly fisherman in front of us took my lines as I came in. He could see that I was on my own, which was nice. And we had a good chat, the squeaking of the jetty as we go down. He also warned me about some fishing gear out by the safe water mark, and I think it's funny because quite often you feel there's a them and us situation between fishermen and sailors. In fairness, I believe if you're going to insult someone, do it right, and they refer to us as waffies, wind-assisted fucking idiots, and I think that's pretty good. But we're going to go out and steer clear of the pots. It's nice to be warned about that. Often we're guilty of thinking they don't care where they put them, but there's a gent that does, so thank you. I've heard the seagulls fart, and we're on our way. Leaving Eastbourne behind brings us to the end of this episode of Adventure Now. We are left with one relatively short hop back to the muddy home waters of Essex. The mood on board Altor is good, as it usually is, but it's lacking the presence and vibrance of Asha. But we will be reunited again soon. In the meantime, I'm left to ponder. I spent many years sailing alone and always enjoyed it, but one thing has become very clear to me, even though I probably didn't admit it back then. Us humans, adaptable, resourceful, strange and funny creatures that we are always better together than we can be alone. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Adventure Now. Happy New Year. Altor out.
Here we have an outfit of a diver. Here's a weight to weigh you down, and here's a strap-on.
I beg your pardon. Asha Krasuska. I can't believe you just said that. Bit small, isn't it? Don't you say a word, Asha.